come on in the room. Come on in the room. Just give you guys a few moments to come on in. Come on in the room. Hey, Jamie, good afternoon. All right, we're going to get started in just a few moments. There's a lot going on in Richmond right about now, and I just want to make sure that everyone has a little bit of information on what's going on, from executive orders to how session is going to all of that. So come on in the room if you want to hit share, just so everyone can see what's going on. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Visha. Good to see everyone virtually. Come on in. Come on in. All right, so let's get right down to it. Let's talk about what's been going on. The General Assembly headed back to Richmond last week. They gavelled in on Wednesday. We had a new governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general that were sworn in on Saturday. And so just give me a few moments to congratulate Governor Glenn Youngkin, our lieutenant governor, Winsome Sears, and our new attorney general, Jason Miyares, who I served with the House of Delegates. We do give honor where honor is due. We do celebrate the momentous occasion. Even though I do not agree with them politically, it is a time to honor our new governor, our new lieutenant governor, and our new attorney general. And more specifically, we want to honor Winsome Sears for being the first African-American and the first woman, first African-American and the first woman to be elected as lieutenant governor. She will be the second Black woman to preside over the Senate. We got to give props to Madam President Louise Lucas, who was the first Black woman to preside over the Senate when she was elected as the President pro temp of the Senate 2 years ago. And then also Jason Miyares, who becomes our first Latino Attorney General in the Commonwealth's history. So we do celebrate them for that. With the new governor that came in, he issued 11 executive orders on Saturday, day one. And I just want to spend a little bit of time just talking just real briefly about those executive orders, what they did, because there seems to be a lot of swirling and a lot of conversation and opinions going around. And just want to give you a quick rundown of the executive order. The first one that released, Governor Youngkin delivers on a promise from his campaign. This is coming straight from the website, banning critical race theory. In this order, Governor Youngkin promises to restore excellence in schools and ban divisive concepts. And he also outlines heightened standards for Virginia schools. We'll put in the chat the links where you can read these. The second thing was the mandatory masking in schools. This is the one that got a lot of the conversation. Let's just keep in mind, in 2021, the General Assembly, we passed SB 1303, I believe, which was basically a law establishing that the school divisions have to follow CDC guidance. And so just to give you an understanding, and I made this post yesterday, executive orders are typically done by governors in Virginia when the General Assembly is not in session. We don't have a full-time legislature. So the only time bills can be crafted, created, and passed is when the General Assembly is in session January through March every year. Outside of that, the governor is kind of like, Virginia has one of the most powerful governors in the union because they have to run the state when the General Assembly is not in session. And so the governor issues executive orders to help guide when the General Assembly is not in to pass legislation. And so executive orders do not usurp or take precedent over law. So we do have law in place. And as we can see, we already see a list of schools that have already started to say the mask mandate will stay in place. Fredericksburg City being one of them. And so we've already seen a couple of different counties have already stated that the mask mandate will remain in effect. The third thing that Governor Youngkin did with his executive order was he fired all members of the Virginia Parole Board, and he hired 5 new members. And there will also be an investigation into how the parole board handled their release last time. So we'll be looking to see what happens with executive order number 3. The fourth executive order was the investigation into wrongdoing at the Loudoun County Public Schools. If you remember, there was a situation with a student and a sexual assault that happened that carried, I believe that that went to court, and the student was actually labeled as a sexual offender. The fifth executive order that the Governor Youngkin is doing is creating a new position on his cabinet, the Chief Transformation Officer. This person will handle the investigation into the DMV and the Employment Commission on what happened with all, what was going on during the pandemic, the long wait lines, the long time to get money, payment, and different things like that. Also, keep in mind, we did put money in the budget to expedite all of these things. And so while this is a messaging that will make it seem like Governor Youngkin is the one that will speed up a lot of those repayment and different things like that, we were the ones that put the money in the budget. And so because we're not in office, because it's not a Democrat in the governor's mansion, typically what's going to end up happening in the next couple of months, a lot of people are going to start celebrating Governor Youngkin for the work that Governor Northam and us in the General Assembly did in the past sessions. The sixth executive order will combat measures like shutdowns and training requirements to declare Virginia open for business. He says current regulations impose heavy burdens and don't protect customers. Let me just remind you all that this is the second time in a row Virginia was ranked best in the United States, so the best state for business, even with what's been going on with the pandemic. And so we've been doing really well with businesses here. And so Virginia was already open for business. We do see certain businesses that are handling a couple different things. Number one, we see early closures. That's due to the lack of employment. People are still trying to find employees, whereas people are still trying to find employment and they're expecting higher pay. But we do see a lot of businesses that have already upped their pay. So if you are still looking for jobs, there are a lot of businesses out there that have already upped their pay higher than the $11 minimum wage that we have going on. And so Virginia has already been open for business. A lot of these things are just messaging bills to make it seem like he's responding to, his campaign promises. Well, a lot of things we already did the work and mitigated on before this election took place. The seventh executive order, which I am a fan of, is combat and prevent human trafficking. Governor Youngkin says he wants to start a commission to protect Virginians. This is great. There's already legislation that's been introduced during the General Assembly to help combat that. So we're excited about that one. That's a good one. He also says the executive order number 8 to combat anti-Semitism with a commission to combat anti-Semitism. He's creating that commission. This is good, but I'm, just wondering where was the governor at when one of his running mates, one of the Republican candidates, actually 2 of them, who issued, anti-Semitic remarks during their campaign trail. So we're glad about that. Thank you, Governor Youngkin. But we also want to make sure that you're holding your side accountable when they do what they do. Executive Order number 9 plans to review Virginia's involvement with RGGI. That's the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. This was a big thing during the campaign. A lot of people were talking about pulling out of RGGI when they don't even understand what RGGI is. And you'll hear a bunch of people who would say RGGI is bad, but people can't tell you what RGGI is. RGGI is basically a cap, putting on a cap on greenhouse gas emissions by a couple of states. The way we have it right now, there are a handful of states: Connecticut, Delaware, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Rhode Island, Vermont, Virginia, and also Pennsylvania and North Carolina are in the process of pending their application to joining as well. And so these are, looking at them, North Carolina and Pennsylvania could be considered red states. These are all states that are seriously considering and concerned about what we're doing and the emissions that we're putting into our environment. And so pulling out of RGGI would be detrimental. And it's just making sure that we're protecting the environment. And so, Governor McAuliffe was the one who put us into RGGI. Governor Northam held us in. The Republicans in the General Assembly attempted to pull us out for about a year or two. We were able to put that back in the budget in 2020 to rejoin RGGI. And so it's added again. It's like a ping pong ball, depending on who's in control and which way the RGGI membership goes. But it's very important that we remain members of RGGI to protect the emissions that we are sending out of our power plants in the Commonwealth of Virginia. The 10th, and I'm missing them. I had the other two, and I missed the other two. So I don't remember what the last two executive orders, but the governor did issue a total of 11 executive orders. Oh, I'm sorry. So here it is. Executive order number 10. Governor Youngkin says he will cut workplace regulations. He says regulations impose a burden on the economy. And no, that's the same thing as the open for business. So I need to figure out there were 11 orders, and I only have 9 here. So I made a mistake. I'll find out what those other two executive orders were. So this is also key to understand, especially for those of us on the Democratic side. I know we have different people who are viewing right now, but one of the major things that has happened over the past couple of days, we have seen the Virginia State Senate become the buck or the check place in the crazy Republican legislation that has been introduced. We have already seen Republicans introduce legislation as relates to repealing a lot of the voting rights things that we've done over the past year. The environmental protections, they're already going to make amendments to the VCEA to put a limit and a cap on some of the different things that we've done with the Virginia Clean Economy Act. And so the Senate, even prime example, just yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, Senate Republicans tried to stop the raise in the minimum wage, and the Senate Democrats put a halt to that. And so regardless of where you stand on the political spectrum, if you're working a job that is paying minimum wage, the Democrats just fought for you. So in the beginning of 2022, the Republicans said we're going to protect workers by stopping the minimum wage. So even if you are a Republican voter who makes minimum wage, which is right now $11, it's due to go up next January. People you voted for attempted to stop that raise for you. And so we're excited that we have a Senate that is fighting. We're even excited that we have the president of the Senate, Senator Louise Lucas, who is being very, very, I don't want to say loud, but she is raising the issues and letting people know on social media what the Republicans are trying to do. And as the Democratic leader in the Senate, she is putting a stop to all of the things that we're seeing, the negative things, because don't get me wrong, the Republicans do have some good bills this session, but the negative things that we're seeing. And so let's just talk about session. I'm going to give me about 10 more minutes, and I just want to talk about session, what you can do, what you can talk about, what you can do while they're in session. The General Assembly is in session every even year for 60 days. So this is considered the long session. So they will be in roughly until the first week or 2 weeks in March. On odd years, they're only in for roughly 45 days. So while they're in session right now, what can you do? If you head over to the LIS website will tell you a list of bills that have been introduced, what committee they've been referred to. When the committees are meeting, I want to admonish you and encourage you to testify before the committees. You can do it virtually. You can sign up and testify, and either testify in support of a piece of legislation or testify against the piece of legislation, and let them know why this legislation is needed or why it would be harmful or hurtful. And then you can also check and see what delegates and senators are members of these committees. You can also check the LIS website for their contact information, their office number, their office email, to send them an email and say, please, support HB such and such. Please vote against SB such and such, and explain to them why. And if you have some free time, you can even go down to the General Assembly and lobby in person. You can go talk to your delegate, your senator, or any of these members of a particular committee. Make sure you know what bill number you're talking about, because typically you're only going to get about 5 to 10 minutes, if even that, to meet with a delegate or senator. Session moves extremely fast. So if you have the opportunity to go down and advocate and lobby, find out if there's a group going down for a particular lobby day. We know the fraternities and the sororities, typically Delta Sigma Theta, the Phi Betas, they will go down and have a lobby day. The Virginia Young Democrats have already had their lobby day. We just saw Martin Luther King, which is a massive lobby day. And so different lobby days happen on different days. If you want to go down with a specific group, the NAACP lobby day is coming up soon. If you want to link up with a particular group and go down and lobby in groups versus just going by yourself, there's power in numbers. So make sure you see what bills are being introduced. Make sure that you are lobbying, emailing your delegate, contacting your senator. Especially for those of us who are Democrats, I know it's kind of seeming like it's all gloom and doom right now, but now is the time to get active. Now is the time to tell your friends, your cousins, them, lottie dottie, and everybody, tell them to start emailing and calling, and make sure your voices are heard as it relates to these particular legislations that are being introduced. There's a couple different things that have been happening as well as we're looking at these executive orders. Attorney General Mayorkas has actually fired 30 positions in the Civil Rights Division. I think on social media, his chief of staff said they only fired like 2 positions, when in actuality it was 30 lawyers within the Civil Rights Division. This is one that's really important to me. One of the ones that was let go was Helen Hardeman. Helen Hardeman is the Assistant Attorney General, which focuses on investigating and litigating against housing discrimination in the Office of Civil Rights. So anytime someone files a complaint or anything like that as it relates to housing discrimination, this position is blank right now. And so all of these are scary measures that's been going on. And so we have to make sure that we're staying vigilant, that we're staying involved. I'm going to try and make a promise to get on here. I'm not going to be on here every Tuesday, but I'm going to try and get on as often as I can to make sure you guys know what's going on while they're in session. I may have some emergency Facebook Lives where I may just pop up to tell you, hey, mobilize, call, show up, testify for this, testify for that. So just stay in the loop, stay focused on what's going on here. Just because we didn't make it back to Richmond doesn't mean I'm going to bed and I'm going to, go in the shadows. I'm still going to be empowering you all, letting you know what's going on, because I believe one of my jobs and one of the blessings that I have is I do the research, find out what's going on, then I come back and make it plain for you all and give you action items. And so for this week, your action items is to find out what legislation is being introduced, something that you're passionate about, and making sure you're reaching out to your legislators and members of the committees to make sure that these pieces of legislation pass. I don't see, let me go back and see if I missed any questions. Let's see. I don't see any questions right now. But you can now, just so you all know, I've also been super, super active on Twitter, not so much here on Facebook and on Instagram. So if you want to be kept up to date with what's been going on, just make sure you're following me at Twitter. It's just at Joshua Cole on Twitter. I'm normally updating a lot more on there. I'm going to try to get back active posting here on Facebook, because I know we do have a different audience here on Facebook that may not necessarily be on Twitter. But I'll be back again. If anyone has any questions, please don't hesitate. Our email, everything still works. So you can still contact us at info, that's info at jgcole.org. You can inbox on here. You can inbox on Twitter or Instagram as well if you have any questions or concerns. But I really appreciate you guys. I'm going to be keeping everyone updated on what's going on. Once session is over, I'll do a Facebook Live about redistricting. I owe you guys one on that one, because I told you I was going to do a Facebook Live on redistricting. Now that redistricting has completed, the local governments have started their redistricting process as well. Some of those plans, I know Stafford has released their plans. So some of those plans are coming out to make sure that those lines could be within the state Senate and the House of Delegate lines as well. So we'll do a redistricting Facebook Live, so you guys, Tuesday talk, so you guys will know what's happening with redistricting. If you want to have a quick update on what's been going on with redistricting, and you just want to see maybe, hey, what's my new district where I'm going to be, you can check out vpap.org. As soon as you get on the website, right at the top banner, it says redistricting. Click on that and you'll see the maps. You can also see where you currently live and if your district is going to be changing. Most of us will have brand new House districts. And so district numbers have changed. Many of you who live currently in the 28th House District will be split between the 65th, the 63rd, maybe, and the 30. Don't quote me on those numbers, but The current 28th district was split between 3 House districts. Delegate Candy King's district in the north, which picks up roughly Garrisonville all the way up to Woodbridge. There was a middle belt that was connected going from the Loudoun County line all the way over to Aquia Harbor. And then those of us in South Stafford from Falmouth all the way down to Spotsylvania are in the new 65th House District. So many of us do have new house numbers and new districts that will go into place in the next election cycle. So if anyone has any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to let us know. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. It's good to see you. And I'll go back over the comments if I miss anything and respond as well. Thanks, y'all. Have a great day. Thanks.